Don't stress about the thing that could happen. If it goes bad, you're going to have to stress about it then. Welcome to the Menlo Experience. I'm your host, Brad Sand, here with Kyle Bach. And we were just talking. It's been a little while since we've done one of these.
It has been a hot minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been going on?
Well, we took a couple months off and it's been a little busy. Lots of things going on in the company. We're kind of in our tax season right now.
It does.
It's kind of our crazy season.
Yep. We're leading up to tax season, I would say. Right?
Yeah.
For those that don't know, tax season's the same day for pretty much everybody. Yes, you can get an extension or whatever, but everybody's taxes are due at the same time. So accounting firms and the like are really, really busy on a concentrated time of year, and that's August for us. So we're getting ready to lead up to that.
Yeah. And a lot of our new customers, things like that, do onboarding in the summer. So for our install team, this is kind of their tax season, and then our school season is our secondary tax season. But so we've got a lot coming up, got a lot going on, and a lot coming up here. And
so how's everybody faring right now?
Well, that's a great question. During tax season, it can get a little hairy at times.
Yep.
Get a little stressful, get a little frazzled,
Yep.
maybe is another good word for it. But
Lots of extra hours, long days.
Long days.
Yeah.
Sometimes, when there's long days, people feel like, they can feel like there's extra things on their plate and get a little overwhelmed and anxious about some of those things. But all in all, the great part about through the whole thing, though, our customers are happy, as we've been getting evaluations of even clients that are renewing with us, all positive things. Just had another one today that was, they said we were the best company they've worked with in the last, since he's ever worked at the school. So, so things like that are really refreshing and encouraging, going on amidst those crazy seasons. And I don't think we maybe always do a great job of making sure everybody hears all of those compliments. I think we do a good job of celebrating when somebody renews a contract with us or something like that. And, but it's something I've been reflecting on. It's just, how do we do better at getting some of those specific, phrases from, communication from some of our clients, of just those compliments and things out to the team.
Talk a little bit about, because we really worked this past year, right, to revamp, if you will, implementation process, but more so maybe even the renewal process. And I think you've got a term for these items, right? But
you said you didn't like my term, right? But it's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
That's my marketing.
We
nerd
need to come
in
up
me,
with
but
another term for
okay,
it. But we've been calling it the reorientation.
Reorientation, okay.
And I think you don't like it because you get, it's like, is that like getting dizzy?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of
maybe
it a little bit from a marketing standpoint. My view on that is it makes it sound like it's a little off track, and it may not be. It may be, but I think the point is the same, right? It's a new touch point, an opportunity to get back with the customer, reset where necessary, and make sure we're all on the same page on the same path.
And that's kind of how we talk about it with our customers when we're going through these, because we have multi-year contracts, and how I communicate it with it in those meetings is we get together and we do a review of just how things been going. We have 3 questions that we ask, and just open-ended questions, but how have we been doing? What have we done well? The 3 questions. What have we done well? How can we improve? And is there anything we should look into? So as we're going, how we describe it is, to the reorientation concept is, in 5 years, things just tend to drift. And sometimes even the people that made a decision to allow an exception in some situations might not even be here anymore. And so maybe somebody doesn't even know that was done for a reason. They might not know that. And so over 5 years, we just want to reevaluate the entire partnership and treat it as if this was a brand new relationship we were walking into. Take a look at everything we're doing together. Ask, is it up to our standards? And, and really just evaluate, is there anything we need to change in that? And we've done some, as a team, we've built some automation, and Jason's done a great job of building some automation on that, just to really take a look at what we're doing from a technology standpoint, and really seeing, is there anything that's outside of what we normally do in an environment, and then making some of those changes. So historically, we really haven't done a lot of evaluating of our repeat clients, and it's created a great touch point for each one of them. It's created a great relational conversation too, just with each one of them as well, just to be able to hear from them, hear what we're doing well, what we need to improve at, and give them that opportunity, even amidst the positive compliments. We're grateful for those, obviously, but those don't often help us get better, right? But we want to start with those and make sure that people realize, there's a lot of value that we bring to the table. So it's been really productive for all of our reorientations, and we can get a better name for it.
Well,
So
yeah, I'd love to hear that. And
yeah,
I'd be remiss, I think if I didn't mention this, but I pushed you to kind of ask some of those questions,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I'd like to give credit to those from Barnett Hellsberg,
yeah,
who kind of founded Hellsberg Diamonds. But
yeah,
his questions are ultimately, what are we doing you like?
yep,
What are we doing you don't like? And what are we not doing that we should be, right? And
yeah,
so that
yeah,
you've bundled that into
hmm,
those customer conversations. And I've noticed the first time you ask the customers that they can be caught off guard.
yeah,
They don't get asked that a lot.
yeah,
And I think the more we can build those relationships, that helps grow our business and make sure we're
yeah,
aligned and on the right path. So
yeah.
talk to me about how you're coaching the team through the busy season, and there's a lot that goes on out of our control during
Yeah.
that time period, and a lot of plans that you set get destroyed or changed instantly
Yeah.
as soon as you start them, right?
Yeah.
So how are we coaching our teams through that process?
Yeah. It's, I agree with you. I feel like you can have the best plans and the best processes. And, sometimes I think that where we're doing well, that we maybe haven't done as great of job in the past, but we've been doing great at this year, is really trying to have more of a consistent roadmap every single time. I think where, the area that we can continue to improve in as a team is when everything blows up, is even just anticipating that a little bit more on the front end and expecting it. And we do this, I think, better with our customers than we do with our team. So I think with our customers, what we do is we say, look, this is going to be bumpy at times, but we got you, right? Like,
Yeah, we set those
we set
expectations.
those expectations,
Yeah.
and we're doing really well at setting those expectations with the customer, to the point where of all of our implementations in the last 12 months, like, we really have not had an implementation with a single customer that at the end they have anything really negative to say. Sure, things to improve, but at the end of the day, they're answering yes to, were their expectations met, and were they satisfied with the outcome,
Yeah.
right? Um, but what we're struggling with is feeling that internally as a team as well,
Mhm.
and realizing that it's going to be bumpy for us too, and that's okay. We got each other, right, and we're gonna get through this together. Nobody's gonna be left stranded. We're not gonna be isolating anybody. Nobody's gonna be called a failure or anything like that. Like, we're here and we're
We're
in
a
it
team.
together. We're
Yeah,
a
we're a
team,
team. Yeah.
and so I think that's something that, I think it gets heightened sometimes, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I think it gets heightened sometimes in the midst of when things get super stressful. And because I think under stress, I'm a big Enneagram guy, but under stress, you turn towards different behaviors than your healthy self will turn towards. And so I think, that's been something that just recently we've been just having more conversations about. When you're stressed, how do you respond under stress? And just helping our team identify, when we're stressed, it's okay,
Mm.
but we're together, we're in this together, and it's even okay for us to disagree. But when you deal with stress, when you see kind of the team going into stress, and you've been in the tech space for a long time, um, how do you best guide people through stressful tax season, height
Yeah.
of anxiety, when things blow up and go wrong?
Yeah, my experience has been that when people get stressed, they go back to kind of everybody flexes, right? We all have our personalities. We all have kind of
Yeah,
our natural tendencies and things that we're comfortable with. And then we get in a work environment or a personal environment, doesn't really matter. We flex, right? And we have to kind of get outside of our comfort zone. If I'm an introvert, but I'm in this role, I have to talk and be more extroverted, right? And so I'm flexing.
yeah,
What I've observed with people is when they get really stressed, they go back to
mm,
who they are as a person. And that's not good or bad. That's just who they are. And
yeah,
those, if you believe kind of what we buy into, which is our culture index program and kind of assessing
hmm,
that, those things are set by the time you're 11 or 12, right?
yeah,
And they are who you are. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just who you are. But when people get very stressed, they default back to that. So I think number one is having a true understanding of everybody on the team and who they are, right?
Yeah.
Because that will help you understand how they're going to respond under pressure or how they're going to react under stress. The other thing that I think is just as a leader that we have to do is I think people get stressed before the thing has even happened.
Yeah. It's the
Right?
hypothetical. It's the possibility.
It's the anticipation of,
Yeah.
right? And staying focused on the things that we can control,
Yeah.
staying focused on the things at hand, and believing in the team that will pivot. And the thing that I think is amazing about our team, I I personally believe they're one of the best at handling curveballs.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
things happen, things change, whatever. So I think as leaders, we also need to keep front of mind that they've crushed this 100 times
Yeah.
before, right?
Yeah.
It is stressful. Things are going to change, right? But we get through it, and we do it better than anyone else all the time. So, I think as a leader, understanding who people are in terms of personality and kind of where they're going to go at moments of stress is important.
Yeah.
But then also keeping just front of mind that we're just building anxiety over a possibility.
Right.
And I don't remember who told me, but it was kind of a great piece of insight. Don't stress about the thing that could happen. If it goes bad, you're gonna have to stress about it then. So why
Right.
stress about it twice?
Yeah.
Right. So you're gonna stress about all these things that could go wrong, and then if they actually do, you're really gonna have to stress about
Yeah.
it. Why waste your energy and time on the front side? Just wait for the thing to happen and handle it, and it's gonna be some stress. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. My deal is we talked about this a little bit before walking in here. Flexibility, right?
Yeah.
And maybe more so agility.
Yeah.
So don't turn it into a defensive stance when things happen. Let's turn it into a forward looking stance of keeping agility. Hey, keep some time on the schedule in case this happens. Let's plan on these things going wrong. That way, if we plan on a bunch of things going wrong and they don't,
right,
we're in much better shape.
Yeah.
If we don't plan on things going wrong and they do, we're on our heels, right?
Yeah.
So I think some of it is just planning, coordination, flexibility, agility. I mean, how's
some of the
that land with you?
contingencies and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say this is the first time we've really planned more contingencies for our install team. And as a result, we've been getting done with projects in advance and knocking out other projects and things like that. I agree.
Psychologically, it feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're done
if
early.
you set that up,
you finished it early.
Yeah, it feels good. There's dopamine and endorphins that come from that type of activity.
Yeah. And I think you're right that, we're stressing about possibilities, and in some ways, it's almost anticipating the failure, which, can be part of you, creating that self-fulfilling, like prophecy going on there, that it's, you create the situation that you're going to walk into. And, and I think that we've got a team that's been doing much better on planning those contingencies on the install side. So I think on the, as we've been refining this process, and one thing I agree with you. I think our team has been, we've been batting really well against the curve, right? It is baseball season. So we've got the sinkers, the curves, the,
what would be
sliders.
What pitch would you be able to hit the best?
A slow pitch, does that count?
Softball, large one.
Big softball. Yeah, I don't know. Whipple ball, does
with
that
the big
count?
bat.
Without the crazy spinny whipple balls. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
What are those called? I don't remember what those are called.
I don't know.
They got all the videos about them right now. But anyways, I play wiffle ball in the backyard with my boys. So that's I may have made one of them cry the other day playing wiffle ball against them. But we
would you
had
hit
a
him
great
with it?
time. No, I just may have gotten them out. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, to be honest.
Early
failure. Me and the
failures.
neighbor boys and my boys. So,
I digress.
wiffle ball. But yeah, I mean, I think we get a bunch of scenarios where we are anticipating some of those things, and we're not anticipating, the feeling maybe of some of the curves and some of those things. Because I think that's where we're getting anxious. We're over analyzing. We're thinking the future. We're thinking somebody, is going to be upset or something. The client's going to be upset. And the truth is, most of our clients, we've got a situation right now where we're walking into where I talked with one of our technicians earlier today and just said, hey, look, the truth is we are going to look like, we're going to go in there, and even if we do a terrible job, we are going to look amazing. and we don't want to do a terrible job. And that's us. We want to do A+ work everywhere we go.
That's our standards.
That's our standards, and we care.
That's a good
thing. And it's a great thing. The challenge is sometimes we're walking into a situation that is just a mess. And sometimes in those situations, they know that it's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can get them, 80% improved, oh my gosh, you just knocked it out of the park, right? And I think sometimes those situations, it's all about understanding relative improvement, right? And realizing that we want to be A+ at everything we do. And I love that about our standards, and that everybody wants to have that level of standard at our company.
And we should never let it go.
And we should never let
Right.
that drop.
Right.
But sometimes there is a reality that we're going to be able to get it up to 80 and 90%. And, we have to be able to get to the point where we don't see that as a failure.
Yeah.
And that, in that situation, then over the next few years that we're working in that partnership, we can take that from an 80% to a 99, 100%, right? But sometimes in that implementation phase, that onboarding phase, if you're at a 10%, but you get up to an 80%, that's a massive improvement. And it's felt, for the staff, for the students, for the, the end customer ultimately at the end of the day. So, seeing those as successes, I think is huge.
As you're talking about this, here's the thought that comes to my mind and it's this, kind of tension between an idealist and a realist.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think about this from an entrepreneur standpoint, and how many people who are idealists and have the great idea, but they just never get their business off the ground because they're still perfecting it. They're still working on it. They're still.
Yeah.
And
they can't get to good and pull the trigger.
That's right. And so the realist, I think, having a realist lens is what you're talking about here, which is, this is our standard. We want to hit this, but we're living in the real world with 50 things outside of our control. And if we could knock this, and this out, we're nailing it. Right. And so it's the aspirational element of an idealist is great. And certainly that's a part of me that I have, but the execution lives in the realist part.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think
how did you get to the point where you had that type of a perspective? Because I think that's something that maybe a lot of technicians struggle with. How did you get to the point where you were able to kind of balance those two things as an entrepreneur? Because I think that's something that, you were a tech director, you were a technologist, right? Like you, but you figured out, that you've got to kind of balance those two or hold those two things a little bit in juxtaposition. How'd you do that?
I think it's probably, in some ways it was a natural evolution for me. You try little things, right? And you fail, you get better, but if you try and take we talk about plans, and as soon as you start to implement a plan, it's going to change, right?
Yeah.
And so as soon as you start moving, and I think that's it, you have to move. As soon as you start moving, you realize whatever your perfect ideal is, or whatever you thought about, there's pressure on it, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're ultimately going to get to be successful, and I've talked about agility on this podcast before, but right, you have to be able to pivot in those sorts of things. And so I think I had certainly a handful of failed businesses starting out and trying, and at some point you have to get away from perfect, right? And the perfectionist element especially like technical people, I think it's a strength, but it can be a weakness. Like every other situation, strengths can be weaknesses. So to really get going and have movement, really quickly you learn nothing's ideal. That's where you start. That's where the vision starts, and that's where you want to be. And it's a good North Star.
Yeah.
But in reality, nothing is truly ideal. Think about every situation in your life, right?
Yeah.
And so the more that you can live, execute, manage, however you want to think about it, the reality in your life, and the more you can take advantage of that or manage that better than the next person, the next company, the whatever, the more successful you're going to be, the more success you're going to have.
Yeah.
And so it's not about staying rigid. It's that's where the idea starts. But as we get going, we need to understand, and then whatever that target is, you still keep trying to achieve it. Right. You're not, and I think that's what some people have, is that it's like they have this idea of they're letting go of that, or they're sacrificing their ideals. No, that still lives in you. That still lives in the organization. We're not sacrificing that.
Yeah.
But we're doing it in the real world.
Right.
I don't know. That's my thought.
Well, and at the end of the day, I think there's the macro and the micro, right? So the macro outcome that we're going for is very clear, and is, we want a successful implementation. We want the client to feel, a certain way. We want the outcome of the technology for that client to be a certain way. That's the macro big picture at the end. We have 2 questions that we ask at the end, right? We want them to answer yes to those questions. Right. And, at the end of our implementation.
What are those 2 questions again? Just
so we ask the question, are you satisfied with your services? And did everything, is the outcome or the expectations?
Were your expectations?
Were your expectations met? Right. And so, we want to hear yeses to those. And as we hear yeses to those questions at the end, macro, we nailed it then. And that's us hitting that. I think where people get stuck is, did we click off every single box along the way? Mm-hmm. And that's where I think, as you mentioned, the real world is like, well, there's going to be weird scenarios that we can't manage along this way. And I think for the client, oftentimes we do a good job of just setting those expectations. And we even help them see that checklist now. We give them the checklist of what we're walking through, our pizza tracker. Yeah.
Credit to Domino's.
Yeah, that's right. Shout out Domino's. Thanks for being our sponsor in the future.
Yeah, okay.
But we have our pizza tracker that we give them access to, or they can follow along our checklist through the entire process. But there's occasionally times where, one or 2 of those things might not make any sense in this situation. The perfectionist hates that, right?
Yeah.
They hate that. The realist is like, who cares? We don't lose any sleep over that.
But ironically, there's also a great feeling of checking off the box. Like if you're a task-oriented person, you like checking the box off, right? So that's a stressor though if you can't check that box off. If you're very task-oriented, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think what's is the stress coming from, and I think this is, each individual I think is different, like you said, from your upbringing and from your own personality. But is that a reflection of me to myself? Is that a reflection of, if I can't check that off, am I thinking someone else is feeling a certain way about me? Yeah. Right. Like, is that, me believing that I'm a failure? Is that me believing somebody else thinks I'm a failure? But that realist is at the end of the day, looking at, you have to be able to measure the macro with the micro too, and be able to hold those 2 together and say, at the end of the day, we got the outcome that we're going for here also. And I think it's hard because, we were talking earlier, it doesn't mean you ditch all of those processes or steps or checkboxes. Because if you ditch them all entirely, you won't get that outcome that you're going for. Right. And I think that's where, holding those 2 things in tandem is the ideal.
Yeah. I think when you look at process, it's about scalability and it's about a high probability of hitting success.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what the map is. So,
yeah.
Okay. All this said, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up, NFL season starts in about a month and a half, preseason, I should say. So, if you're a team coming out of last season, we all know how the Chiefs fared last year, and hey, great milestones and stuff. But what's your reset? What are you looking for going into the season?
Well, it's funny that we talk about, being perfectionists, right? And as Chiefs fans, we've gotten to the point where like, well, we made it to the Super Bowl, but we failed, right? My kids have seen more the Chiefs in the Super Bowl more than they've seen them not in the Super Bowl in their life. My 10-year-old, we were talking about this. My 10-year-old's seen the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl more times than he's seen a Super Bowl without the Chiefs in it.
Yep.
That's insane. So the standards that they've set, is something else. And I love that about that we're growing up in that, that my kids are growing up in that time. But yeah, we're in a fun season to be able to watch the Chiefs. How do you keep it? How do you stay on top? I think that the Chiefs are kind of going to come out hungry.
Oh, I think so. I think it's about the reset is about what your outcome you're going for the season.
That's right.
That's what I love about sports. And we've talked about it, I think, before here, but we have no off season.
Yeah.
So I think in a sports environment, there's even in an education environment, if you will, there's an off season.
Yeah.
More often than not, depends on if you're an all year school, but you have a summer reset and you're going into the next season, we'll call it grade.
Yeah.
In the school environment, in a sports environment, you're kind of putting a finality on that, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the ability to reset, start over, and you're going for a new season, the outcome. I think that when you look at business, it's a continuous cycle.
Yeah.
It's the all year school, if you will, whatever. And so, almost building in some resets or closing a season and starting a new season.
Yeah.
And I think what it allows you to do is, in the Chiefs, you mourn the past, you mourn the season if you didn't accomplish your objective, or if you're a team that won 4 games, or 5 games, you got a chance to come back. We're going to rebuild. Here's the strategic moves we're going to make to try and do better next season. I think building that into business is probably a valuable lesson, because it's almost ceremonial in closing the door from before, not carrying all these burdens from years past over and over and over, and then starting a new season, starting fresh and getting after your outcomes. So.
That's a good thought. I wonder if that's part of, as you see people lead to burnout and different things like that, and different, because there's no break, there's no pause, there's no, obviously vacation and all of those things that, are normal, but there's no true seasonality or closure or time off to reflect on some of those things. And we've got some ways that we have that in our system, but it doesn't quite get the same closure feeling, I think. Like some of our after action reviews where we review through projects that we just finished or customers we just onboarded and things like that. It doesn't quite get the same closure feeling oftentimes. And so that's a good thought as far as when you think about the best times you've seen situations like that in business happen. What have been some of those things?
Well, I think the closest correlation in business is probably the end of the fiscal year, right? And so fiscal performance, or from a financial performance, that's generally closed out on a yearly basis, right? That has absolutely nothing to do with how the business operates and how the staff in the business and people in the business or even reset, know? And so sometimes, and we do it, but you got a kickoff meeting for the year or whatever. But I think it's probably something we just talk about in terms of how can we bring kind of that kind of end, closure, restart, energy, and I think it's tough when you don't, not that the Chiefs or any professional athletes really stop for a couple months, but certainly the intensity or the schedule or the routines change enough to be significant to where you notice it's something different. And when business is always stacking projects and things are always overlapping, I think it's tough. But
in some ways it's almost a chapter header or a chapter break for the next chapter. So
well, we'll leave that for next time. So for
the
now,
next chapter.
For the next chapter, this has been the Menlo Experience. We'll see you next time.
See ya.